Silly. What? Mel, we are back for another episode.
Are you recording?
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Mel, we are back. Yes, we're recording, and we're back, bitches.
Bitches, we're back.
And I'm on my second cup of large coffee, and a little coffee talk over here, so everybody needs to watch out.
I got my Coke Zero.
All right, can we just talk about what a crazy week we had?
Okay, get the fuck out of here.
Well, actually, before we get to that, on this episode, Tyler Townsend's on. Okay,
again,
he's amazing. He was on the previous episode.
Yeah.
So if you didn't catch him, this is part 2. If you want to hear part 1, to kind of give you a lead in as to his incredible journey into production, but he started out as an actor. That's what we get into last episode. But this one, he really dives in and talks about how he moved from actor to producer, DP, which is director of photography, and producer. I already said that, right?
Yeah.
Jesus.
He does a lot of stuff, though. He's like a man. He's the man of all trades. He talks about how many things he's done in production and stuff, and how he got there and how he transitioned and traveled all over the world. And like, it's really incredible. It's cool how you follow somebody's like thread all the way through like that. Because he has really cool stories.
That's like one of my favorite things about this show, though, outside of just hanging out with you, is that we talk to people and really see how they get to where they are. I just find that stuff so interesting, how, you start one way and you end up totally different.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not always, but it's encouraging for people to feel like
it is.
You don't have to be trapped in like one thing, right?
Yeah, follow the thread, but also the evolution of who you are and all that. But I think it's fun because when we do have a guest on, they also forgot some of these stories, and it reminds them like, oh my God, I did this. Oh my God, I did this. I can't believe I came out of that alive, or like, whatever. I think that's so cool.
I love it. I love it.
Came out of it alive. Speaking of which, we have had quite the last week. Brooklyn, you have survived a hurricane, chance of tornadoes, and an earthquake in a day. Fucking what?
Pretty interesting. Yeah, well,
and you're in California. What is happening?
How did you go to South Carolina to escape a tropical storm hurricane?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is so funny because Uncle Cam, when him and his husband came out, they came to California and were escaping the wildfires and smoke that were happening in June, in Canada, and it was like wafting down. So it's like, it's all opposite world right now. We did. We had tropical storm, from the Hurricane Hillary. Luckily, by the time it hit California, it had downgraded tremendously, and so the winds were not what we expected. And I'm up in the mountains, the San Gabriel Mountains, so we were anticipating a lot of wind because we do get that, and we get it a lot heavier than anywhere else. But it was just nonstop rain for over 24 hours. I mean, it was still raining this morning. Oh,
did your pool overflow?
Almost.
Okay.
That's actually what we were concerned about. Out this window right here in my office is the pool. I'm kind of like in a lower level. My house is like a tri-level. So we even put sandbags over there. So in case it did overflow, that it wouldn't just pour down into this bottom patio. But it's actually, we're good. I haven't left my house. I don't know what the city of Pasadena looks like.
Yeah, right.
But I know the LA River is
flowing. Finally.
Flowing full of like cars and plastic and probably needles and diseases. And it's funny because they had people down there, like the news were interviewing folks that came to the LA River to check it out. And one guy had like flip-flops on, and the newscaster was like, I mean, you're awfully close to this water. Are you planning on getting a tetanus shot after you leave here?
He said that on the air?
Yeah.
It's true. It's true, though. Oh, my God.
Gross.
Yeah, my neighbors wrote to me, and they were like, we're going over to check your pool because Ida's pool's already overflowed. And I was like, oh, shit, because we're not there. So we have no idea. We don't have cameras there anymore or anything. So I was like, I have no idea if my pool overflowed.
Did they tell you? You don't
Not
know.
yet.
They're like, we're gonna go check. Radio silence.
Yeah, exactly. I think they would have.
They
I'm
might be
hoping they would
dumping
have
it.
frightened me. Yeah, or they just don't want
Well,
to say
so
anything
you
because they're like,
survived. You
I
survived this
did.
week. Yeah,
I
you
did.
traveled cross country in a Winnebago with two children, two dogs, two guinea pigs, and an
Yeah,
incredible husband driving through the
every day.
insanity.
He
Oh,
drove
and like
every day.
you also survived like over a dozen Walmarts
It was
throughout
awesome. And I
Oklahoma,
will tell you,
Texas.
so obviously Kingman is Kingman, right? Which I forgot to
I
tell
don't
you,
know
I
what
shot
that means.
Kingman, Arizona is
I
like
don't
a
know.
specific type of person. Everyone in there was not fully toothed, we will say. There was a lot
Oh,
of black eyes everywhere, and I thought, I don't know if everyone's falling into the wall. I don't know. It was something to behold.
maybe
Um,
there's a hockey like fascination in the desert, and maybe
maybe,
they're all playing hockey.
maybe, or a serial puncher. Maybe there's a serial puncher that no one has control over. So Kingman was very interesting. I shot a commercial in Kingman, actually. And what's funny is the guy who was part of the advertising, the agency or the whatever, the client, he ended up being in Arkansas. And then he saw that I was going to Arkansas on the RV trip and he saw the picture of our RV thing. And he was like, I'm like 15 minutes away from you. And so he came over the next morning. I haven't seen him since like, I don't know, 2004. He came over the next morning with donuts and we like hugged and it was like, I can't believe I'm getting to see you. And it was really great. It was like, I'm traveling into Arkansas and I see the guy who lived in Columbia where I shot the second commercial for the same company, but we shot the first one and met in Kingman. Lots of things.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
but yeah, the RV trip was great. The first 2 days super sucked. We just had to kind of get used to it and stuff, and it just was an adventure. I think we tried to appreciate every moment of it, but it was hard. It was hard.
Yeah.
Um,
You feel like you were
and then
prepared, like you
I
had
think
everything. What did
I
what
think
did you
we
need to do?
had
What tips would you give to folks who buy a RV?
okay. Uh, get the bigger ones. Just spend the extra 20 grand and get the huge ones because we got a 26 footer Winnebago that it doesn't have the like it is rickety, and when a big truck goes by you, the weight of it isn't as heavy, so your back end sways and it's scary.
Oh,
But if you buy the bigger ones, you're heavier on the ground, and then they have the air shock things. So you're not like, I mean, it was rickety in there. So that was the only thing. And it's an actual Winnebago. So it's a beautiful piece of machinery. However, just get the bigger one. And then the other thing is make sure you figure out whether your dog is going to take Benadryl or Dramamine because it took us the first couple of days to figure out which one worked for which dog. And then we finally on day 3 or 4 got the, okay, this is how much, this is what makes them shut the fuck up. Like, let's just, it was hard. So it was good. It was good. And then every campsite was fantastic. We went to the KOA campsites, the KOAs, and they were
mhm.
amazing. And then one was like fully in the woods, and it was like, super, super duper woods. Um, it was awesome. But I'm glad we're here. I'm glad we're in, it's really nice weather right now. The kids are trying to we got them into school today and all that. So it's exciting.
Oh, that's great. Yes. So
Yeah.
you have landed.
I have landed and I'm out of a Winnebago. I do not have Winnebago legs any longer.
That's great. Well, I
Yeah.
think cross country like that, yes, probably feeling more rickety than if you just decide to take that, I don't know, like 2 hours outside of South Carolina to go camping. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I agree. And we won't have the dogs with us most likely. I mean, they did okay at the end, but I mean, honestly, yeah, a couple of hours up to like, Asheville to go camping in the mountains or because it snows up in Asheville and stuff that we were like, okay, well, we can do that. That's easy. So yeah,
Yeah.
we still like the RV. We're going to keep it. We were debating the first 2 days. We were like, we're getting rid of this fucking thing. And now we're
That's how I
okay.
felt about the Tesla. The
Oh,
Tesla Model X we had, which was so
yes.
great if it's just you in the front seat and you're driving around town. But we took it to
Yeah.
San Diego, and my kid was in the back. My youngest was in the back,
Yeah.
the third row, because the X has the
It's like
bucket
an
seats
SUV.
in the back. Kind of, yeah. But
Yeah.
then the back row has it, it has a third row,
Yeah.
but it's still small. But it is like, it is. My kid was sick in the back seat,
Yeah.
just in a 4-hour drive because the traffic was
Oh,
horrible to San Diego. Yeah, he was sick, and it was. We were trying to decide if we were going to keep it or get the other car that we had on pre-order. And we finished that trip, and I was like,
nope.
sell it. We
Get the
got
fuck
out of
out
the
of my
car
house.
in San Diego, and I was like, I don't want this car anymore because I sat in the back with him because he was getting sick.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh, you know what
just
though? That's
things to
really
know.
it's good that you know that because I've actually shared that twice that happened to you because I had two friends that were like, I think we're gonna get the Tesla thing, and I was like, please try it because Brooke was it was hard on the family with whoever's in the way back cannot get car sick if they cannot,
Yeah,
because that
especially
would
on
stop
long
us too.
drives.
Yeah,
Yeah, because there's no it's literally like metal on a computer. There's no it's not like comfort. Uh,
yeah,
and yeah, if you're just piddling through the city and it's just you and you're doing quick pickups or whatever, but
yeah.
even the way that the glass on the windshield comes all the way up and there's no like it goes
Oh,
all the way up and above
yeah,
you, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It get makes like my oldest every time he was in the passenger seat, he was like, "Oh my god, I feel sick." It's just yeah, it's
This
crazy.
podcast is so informative. We're saving people hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds, thousands.
It's what we do. It's what we do. Sorry, Elon. It's over.
It's over.
Are you ready for the show?
I think so.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
It's time for our industry insider.
What?
Oh my god.
So you graduate.
Yes. Oh wow. Sorry. Yeah,
No,
that
that's
was
okay. I love all
took
these
a long
stories.
time to get back
No,
there.
that's good. But
so
you graduate. And
I
you
graduate
use-
with a broken knee and 2 upcoming surgeries and
And a pregnant friend.
and a year of physical
Right.
therapy. So we actually went on and did the not Pasadena Playhouse. Beverly Hills Playhouse. Together. Yeah. And I would like go to physical therapy and then go to the Playhouse and do that sort of thing. And at the time I just got the opportunity to start working in production, like PA. I got a job offered at PA, and I sort of had to make this choice of like have more time, be a waiter or any of those normal cliches, and have more time to audition and spend pursuing acting or start working in the film industry immediately. And so for me, my passion has always been that, and I'd been a waiter and worked at Best Buy and those types of things, and I was like, fuck that, that's not for me. So I took the PA job and was like, oh yeah, I'll be able to I can do this and still be an actor. And what happens very quickly is if you work in production,
it's 15 hours.
6 days a week, especially back then. And so there was no time to pursue.
And you're not allowed to really have auditions. You're not allowed to tell your production team, I have an audition tomorrow. They're like, no.
Yeah.
No, you're in production.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want to go full force in acting out here, you have to
get a job that allows you to audition, which most of them, even serving jobs, frankly, you have to just make sure you're working with a really good staff that will cover shifts and everybody's in it together and because otherwise you're fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I ended up working as a PA on a couple different gigs and things like that. And then ironically got just a random weird opportunity to be a location manager for Margaret Cho, the comedian's new VH1 TV show. And it was like a big opportunity for me and a big paycheck increase. So I was like, no way I was saying no to that. And the summer before I had started college with Brooke, I had worked on a feature film. And I was like the shadow of the director. I wasn't the first assistant director or even the second. I was literally the director's assistant. So it was almost more like a personal assistant type thing.
Yeah.
But she was from New York and she didn't drive and was terrified to drive. I don't even think she had a driver's license. And so basically I had a nice car at the time. And so I would pick her up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. every single day when it was still dark out and get breakfast with her and coffee and go to set or whatever meeting pre-production and basically be with her the whole time.
That's a lot of information you're getting there.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
And there was a lot of weird cameos in that. Like I met like all these incredible, like no big, huge A-list actors, but I got to meet David Carradine and Sam Pancake and Daphne Zuniga, who was Princess Leia in Spaceballs. And like, so all these incredible people, Joanna Garcia, who was on the Reba McEntire show at the time, and like all these people, and get to be a part of the process that you wouldn't get to be even as a PA or even as an AD. So that was really incredible. And I have no idea why. I was talking about that.
Your leap into production from acting.
Right. So I had already seen that a lot and visited film sets like Titanic and things like that. So I think those things led up to me advancing very quickly in production. And the feature film that I worked on, not only was the director. So the way I got onto that feature film was my grandfather, that we've already covered, the magician who would leave me alone in Vegas. One of his crazy neighbors in Malibu was who we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah. Shit.
And so she was the main star in the movie, one of the main stars. And it might actually be better to leave her nameless.
Okay.
So she didn't drive either and was very crazy and eccentric, older lady actress at the time. And so when one of her very first days of filming, I think her very first day of filming, I had taken the director to set already, which was like in like southeast LA, like in some, at some practical location in this crazy neighborhood. And this is not even pre smartphones and GPS. This was pre MapQuest.
Right.
So this was Thomas Guide. I had the
Thomas Guide.
Thomas Guide, no internet directions at all. And
you
so
only know that you've gotten into a bad neighborhood in LA back then when your Vons turned into Johns. And then you're like,
yeah,
I think I need to turn back around. Oh yeah.
Funny.
But so I always had to like plan everything out and know my route in the Thomas Guide, and I would like know the pages. And so I knew because I'd already taken the director there, and this star lived not that far from where I picked up the director. And so we got to set, and I didn't even know I was doing this. And she goes, one of the main things I need you to do today is you need to go pick up your friend, because she knows you through your grandpa and stuff. That's how I had gotten on the movie. You need to go pick her up and bring her to set. And she has to be here at a certain time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, cool. And so I like figure out where she lives. I go to get her, and I was like, all right, great. I already know my route because it's basically the same thing. So I'm driving down Sunset Boulevard, and I know I need to get on the 101 southbound.
Yeah.
And as it's like a steep downhill ramp.
Yeah.
And I like round the corner, and I start going down the ramp, and she has a total nervous breakdown in the back of my car, and is like banging on the seat and like screaming and trying to like open the door. And so I like quickly pull over and like try to assess what's going on. And she's finally able to communicate to me that yet another near-death experience was that she was in a horrible car accident on the freeway one time. And she's like, I will never go on a freeway ever again in my entire life.
Well, she shouldn't be living here.
Yeah. So I had to I backed up off the on-ramp onto the surface streets, and like now she's like, I need ice, I need this, I need that, to try to calm her down. So I find a 7-Eleven, and I like get her like an entire bag of ice and like all this shit, and like get her calmed down and stuff. And now I have to try to figure out how to get to like deep southeast LA
without a highway,
without using any freeways or highways. Yeah. And so I like mapped it all out, and like I did figure it out, and I got her there, and then I basically had to do that for the rest of the summer. But it gave me this incredible knowledge of the surface streets and the neighborhoods and the different areas. So bringing it back forward, I know I keep backtracking,
no, I love it.
But that's, I think, what made me confident to be a location manager, was that I already had this pretty decent knowledge of the city and locations and how to get places and all that kind of stuff. So I worked as a location manager, and then production manager, production coordinator. Like I did a ton of different like production stuff, and zooming forward and over many
I was going to
crazy
say, you
stories.
were like in Costa Rica in a tree for a while for Discovery.
Oh, that was just recently.
That came a little later. So basically I was working in production quite a bit, and I worked on some really hard shows that wore me out. And then I worked for 2 weeks on a certain particular animal bounty hunter.
Got it.
Not their first show, but the reboot show.
Yeah.
And it was in Vegas, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life. Oh. And I quit and got fired all at the same time, and I was like, no, you can't fire me, I quit. It was one of those types of things. Like, fuck this. And I was already quitting.
You're fired.
Yeah, they sent me.
I quit. I'm very
You can't
professional.
fire me.
You're fired.
Well, I was already like the 4th production manager. They were burning through production managers like crazy. So I was set up to fail from the beginning, but it was a straw that broke, not just a straw, it was like a wrecking ball that broke the camel's back for my interest in production. And at the time, like, production work, especially because smartphones and all of that stuff had evolved in that short period of time that I was doing all that stuff, the production world was really a 24/7 job. I would work a 14-15 hour day, drive home, be passed out like half in my bed, and get a call at 3 a.m. and they would be pissed if I didn't like pick it up and immediately like respond to stuff. And I was like, so there was literally no downtime. You're never off the clock. I was not making good money. And so I kind of had this like breakdown and freak out. And I went out to dinner with one of my mentor friends, really close friend. She's like family member to me, Andrea Salvo, shout out. And she was like, you own cameras, you're always like filming your own projects and doing these own things, which is the photography 4th generation side of me, is that I did headshots and I did still photography.
He does our family photos.
That's amazing.
And I had actually done film cameras before DSLRs came out, and so I had some of the first DSLRs, and then the DSLR boom happened where everybody was now shooting video with DSLR photography cameras. And so I was like, I already had the photographer side. Also in high school and stuff, my family was never well off enough to have our own video equipment, but I was like a producer brain, because any school project, I would make them let me turn it into a video project. And I had that producer brain because I was like, I'll also get Danny to be in it and Nick, and like, these are fake names, by the way, but the other lackeys that wouldn't turn in their book report, I would get them to be in the film project with me. So I was, and so I also had to recruit the rich kid in class because they had the best camcorder. So it was really this producer brain. Yeah.
Oh, shit, that's early.
So, and then I had a corporate job in high school, and I saved up, and the big one, like, first thing I splurged on was buying myself my own video camera.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that was really fun.
So you moved into like creating your own stuff?
Yeah, so I've always just shot, like, even before YouTube was just shooting, like, stupid videos, and, like, I did Jackass, like, style prank stuff at one point, and then little scripted things, and, like, coming out of that childhood of, like, storytelling and costume box and go, and I did improv and, like, theater and all these things, so I'd get people involved, and we'd shoot our own videos and all that kind of stuff. So she was like, well, why don't we get you some camera jobs? Like, why don't you get out of production and work in camera? Yeah. And I was like, boom, like light bulb. Like, I hadn't even considered that. I was like, well, fuck, somebody will pay me to do that. Right. And so I got my first couple like camera gigs, even just like as an assistant camera or things like that. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, you're on the clock at your call time, and you're off the clock and you're done at your wrap. Right. Nobody calls you or fucks with you. Like, there's no expectations of working over the weekend or picking up your phone at 3 a.m. And I'm actually like enjoying this more. So, so I ended up doing a lot of camera jobs, and one of the things I got really good at is media managing, or DIT, because I'm super OCD and attention to detail, and so like securing all the data as this digital revolution happened, and we moved away from like tape stock. What DIT is real quick. So DIT is digital information technologist, or technician, I think, actually. As I'm like, oh,
it's fine. You're really good at it.
Fuck up my own title. Here we go. So they, on big sets, are responsible for a lot of things. They're running the monitors, and nowadays doing live color correction and a lot of that kind.
I've seen them running around in the last few commercials I've done. I see them running around, and they're the ones that actually sound goes to them first.
Yes, everything goes to them.
Yeah,
they're video village, basically.
Yeah.
They're processing all the data before it even goes to the monitors
Yeah.
that the directors are watching and stuff like that. And they're normally embedded very deeply with the director of photography, and they're looking at the image together and color correcting things and all sorts of stuff. So I was mostly doing like adventure documentaries and things like that. So I was more on the data backup media. That's why it's more like a media manager sort of position, which is that because there's no longer like, it's not on film. Obviously we'd moved way away from that. And now it's not even on like tape or DVDs or anything like that. It's all just digital.
Yeah.
So media management became a big thing of like securing all the data.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the media that the cameras actually film on is really expensive. So they don't want to just buy a ton of media cards for the cameras. So every day we'd have to back up all of those cards, secure it into multiple different hard drives so that we have redundant copies and safety backups and things like that. That way they can clear the cards and use that same media the next day. But it's really dangerous to do that.
Because if you get rid of something, if you're not
exactly.
paying attention.
It's very easy to lose your footage that way.
Yeah.
So I've done a ton of that and in all different aspects of the industry. And I worked on Taken 3 at one point, and I've worked on these crazy travel adventure documentaries. The Costa Rica project that's a fantastic. I'll just give you so I got a call. A lot of this industry works off of word of mouth and references and, so I get a random phone call on like a Tuesday, let's say.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we need to put you on a plane on Friday to Costa Rica. And we can't tell you anything about the job. You're going to be in the deep jungles. You're going to have to run base camp and media and support the camera crew off of generators. And you might be staying in tents and stuff at some point. And all we can tell you is that it's for National Geographic and it's going to be extremely dangerous. So I'm literally on my computer typing in dangerous Costa Rica and the fertile snakes are coming up and people fall off of the waterfalls and there's a lot of nature. I'm thinking Nat Geo.
Especially because you're going to be in a tent.
Yeah, exactly. And deep jungles.
Oh my God, you just used your Spanish because you were talking about Costa Rica. That was great.
And so I was like, I can deal with nature. I grew up camping and I'm a nature kid. So I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. So I prep really fast, jump on a plane. They get me down there. And then the first night we're still in the capital city and we're in a nice hotel and they take us all into this private conference room that they've booked. And they introduce us to picture Rambo and Rocky or Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone and they're jacked in their little arm shirts and one of them has an AK-47 on their t-shirt and stuff and they're we'd like to introduce you to the hosts of the show and we're all of us are starting to scratch our heads and stuff and we're nature documentary these guys are ex special forces and shit so they're okay no we couldn't tell you this before, and so no hard feelings. This is going to be full disclosure. You can't tell anybody outside of this room. That's why we're in a private, locked conference room. If anybody after this meeting says no, we'll put you back on a plane, first class home, and there's no commitment required. We are an undercover murder investigation going deep into the jungles to try and solve the murder of a lost hitchhiker. And we're posing as a nature documentary crew. And these are your hosts. And I'm the asshole over there being how much do you know about monkeys? How convincing are you guys going to be as hey, I'm really into the floral and fauna.
Right.
What kind of shit do you find in this stream?
That is, I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's what it was. And
because I think when we talked about it, you were in it. Or you were about to go, or you had just come back, so you couldn't even tell me that.
Say anything.
We weren't supposed to say much,
You just
for our own safety.
Do you think they solved it?
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other episode.
Oh,
the case has been solved, and wow, what a craziness. So
you have to watch it.
Yeah. Yes and no.
Okay.
So the show.
Is there anything to watch? Because is it a show?
It is a show.
Yeah,
it was
an
Well, give us that. Make people have to watch it. So what is the show?
The show is called Missing Dial. It is a real show. It was actually ironically for National Geographic.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feature much nature.
Yeah.
And on the show we solve the murder and get a guy to confess, which then completely is not true.
What?
So we didn't know that at the time. We were treating it very much like a documentary and thought we were really solving it and that he was actually confessing. And then it turns out it was a false confession. And
for the show?
No. The guy was terrified. He thought we were going to kill him. Yeah. And
you?
Not me.
Rambo
and
Rambo guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about this new thing that we found. Is called Moonlite. It's amazing. We're still reading to our kids at night, and I can be honest with you, sometimes it's tedious because we're reading the same book over and over and over and over. Well, let me tell you, Moonlite is incredible. The magic of Moonlite is simple. It's the experience of reading together with a projection on the wall, because tablets, yes, are a staple for many families, and digital books can be overstimulating sometimes for little kids. And honestly, they leave little room for imagination. But Moonlite bridges the gap between traditional and digital books. There are playful projections, vivid sound effects, and read-along features make this multi-sensory storytime a delight. Moonlite is here to help you create imagination-filled, interactive bedtimes for your whole family and make storytime magical again. Use the code Moonlight10 with our link to get an extra 10% off your purchase. It's very cool. Okay, so, sir, you are now moving into directing, and I want to hear how the hell... I mean, you filled your 2 blocks, right? So now we want to know how that happened.
Yeah, you were directing too, though. You went back to the academy where we graduated. You've been working there offs and ons as like acting for the camera and teacher, and and you actually directing some of the one acts and.
So we touched upon the fact that I've always sort of like filmed my own things and got my own camera and like did my own projects, and then that's kind of what led me into doing more in the camera side of the industry, and then more recently, the last couple of years, I actually finally joined the camera union, so I'm local 600, the International Cinematographers Guild.
You have to say it like that.
Everything you do now has to be said like that.
So y'all see.
I like that you tossed your hair back. That was good.
The little I have left.
You did it in the right direction, though, too.
Yeah.
You didn't, like, fake it.
So I've also been on the faculty of the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, our alma mater, for a number of years. I actually started off as a camera operator. They do these summer intensive programs, just like they're a couple week-long workshops. And a lot of that, it's not recruiting for the full college program, but a lot of the it's a great way for younger students, 16, 17, 18-year-olds still in high school trying to figure out what they want to do.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them come to the summer programs, and then if they fall in love with the school and yada yada, then they'll enroll for the full-time course. And so I was a camera operator for those for a while, and then one day one of the teachers actually got a really amazing audition opportunity, so he wasn't going to make it to class that day, and I had done this for many years, so when he called in that he wasn't going to be able to make it, he said, I think Tyler should just teach my class. And I was like, what? Okay. So that was my first time sort of substitute teaching.
Yeah.
And then the next summer, they actually asked me to teach my own classes. And then after a couple summers of teaching my own classes just during the summer, they asked me to teach in the college program.
Yeah,
and my reaction was literally, that's a horrible fucking idea. I was like, do you have any idea who I am? Like, I don't have credentials for this. Like, I'm not a teacher. And she, the director of instruction at the time, a wonderful woman, Terry Hayes, actually had printed out I don't even know how she had it, because she somehow found my professional resume and had it printed out.
Ooh, hey,
so and she like showed it. Yeah, right. And she like showed it to me, and she's like, but you've worked on this and you've worked on that, and like I was like, I have to look.
Where did you get that, lady?
Yeah.
First of all.
Yeah. It's such a weird thing. I don't necessarily consider myself like overly humble or anything like that, but it is an interesting thing in this industry that because every job is short and fast, and
you're always looking for work.
Yeah, and like I don't consider myself extremely accomplished or like that I've made it or am doing extremely well.
I want to talk to you about that just for a second.
Yeah, of course.
Sure that everything isn't sleeping. But I was just talking to Brooke a little bit about this, about how you always sort of feel like imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Which is really weird because sometimes I'll list all the things I've done and I feel like an imposter. And I'm like, why? Like, it depends on what scenario I'm in. If I'm here with you, I know I'm so much better than you, so I just know that I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Right.
No.
She was seeing if I was paying attention.
I was.
Right?
No, but I'm sitting here with you, and I feel confident in what we do. I feel like we have really good skills, and I understand our dynamic, and I love being with guests and people that are smarter than me and all that stuff. But when I put myself in, say, I was working with someone recently, a celebrity.
Well, I hope you get some smart guests later on. So.
We're planning. We
can go up from here.
But no, I actually totally know what you're saying, and leading into this whole being a teacher thing, like it's totally imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But what I preach to my students and what I truly believe now is that it's less about that like fame success, and like I'm like, if you can pay your rent working as a creative or in even if it's not acting, even if it's being a PA, yeah, exactly, if you're paying your rent from working in entertainment, you are successful. And if you can pay rent long enough to start squirreling away money and eventually own a home one day, and like slow progress is progress. And one of the things I hate about the Hollywoodized media and this glitz and glamour like perception that we project to the world, or that the media projects to the world, is that it's like, I always like joke that it's like, oh yeah, we found Scarlett Johansson on a dairy farm milking cows and we made her a star, kid. Like, right. And it's like, that's so bullshit. And even the famous people that we know had like a big break moment where now all of a sudden they're famous. But if you really looked at their resume, that's only like 50% of their career. Right. Like the list of credits and work that they'd put in before they even got that role that now we know them from.
And that's a whole other animal and job. So if you want to work in the industry, it's because you want to be in the industry.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with, if you want to be famous, I don't know if this is kind of, you have to learn how to be famous because you've done all this work, and now your next step is to be in the spotlight and understand how to stand and understand, like, it's your next job. Yeah. Is to be a celebrity or to be in the limelight. And that's one of the things too. Or the people back in Idaho, the family members that are like, well, can I see you every fucking time. This is from the beginning since I've been out here, is, oh yeah, I'm an actor in LA. Well, what would you've been in? What can I see you in? And I'm like, fucking nothing. Yeah. Because it's either regional or I'm tiny, or who cares? Yeah. I'm like paying my bills.
Well, and there's so much work that gets made and people get paid that never sees the light of day. Right. Pilots.
But it's about being creative and being, around our people. Yeah.
I shot 2 entire seasons of a TV show, a really good TV show, and I was the director of photography. Maybe would have been, my biggest credits but it was for a new network that was trying to launch in the midst of all the, Netflix and stuff happening. This was years ago, and the network ended up flopping, and in their bankruptcy and dissolution, dissolvement,
dissolvement.
Yeah. Another.
Anyway, as the ship went down, and the band did not play.
It always comes back to the Titanic.
And they absolutely could have and should have sold and liquidated assets that we had, like entire seasons of shows that had never been seen, and they could have gone to other networks, and that work might be out there, because it's certainly good enough to air on other platforms, especially now with all the streamers and and free content and stuff like that. But it all is just on a shelf somewhere in somebody's office, and nobody ever pursued getting it out there. So I've shot entire seasons, multiple seasons of shows that were my highest camera credit, at least, that nobody's ever even seen a commercial for, because they never got they got finished. They just didn't get
the airtime they needed to.
They didn't get released. So anyway,
so there's that.
So if you want to be in the industry, you got to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons.
So
that's for sure.
Yeah, and what would you say are your if you're trying to get into the industry of being either camera or even working on production, like just to get in, right?
So everybody,
what do you say to do, not to do?
Right. And this is great because it kind of brings me back to like her showing me my own resume and that wanting working people in the classroom and not, necessarily
just teachers.
And that's the way I teach my film classes is much more like a lab. We're actually filming things. And so I was all of a sudden getting all of this director experience without even classifying it as that because I was an instructor. But and then I recreated the second year curriculum a few years into teaching college classes. I completely rewrote the second year program to make it much more advanced. And one of the things at the time, many years ago, was everything was reels. It was impossible to even get auditions without having some sort of video first. And here we are graduating students from a prestigious acting academy, and they had no headshots, no reel or anything like that.
Headshot,
well,
but it was really your graduation photo. So they're like, you'll leave with a headshot.
Yeah.
And it was just the graduation photo.
That's not a headshot.
It was it's the one that goes in. So if you go to the American Academy, in all the halls they have every graduating class. Yeah. From the set 60s. I mean, it's crazy. Ours is our graduating class. Well, and
because I'm a photographer, when I did headshots, I would delete the first card worth of by the time I was doing most of my headshots, I actually did a lot on film. Yeah. And then you had to be a lot more specific. When we got to digital, the first 15, 20 minutes, half an hour of a photo shoot, I don't even barely look at that shit because you throw it all away. Yeah. It's building the rapport, getting them comfortable, setting up the light, tweaking all the stuff.
Which you should also know as an actor, too. When you first get in there, don't expect your first 20 minutes or 15, 20 minutes to even be worth anything. Allow yourself to just be in the room and get to know your photographer and feel comfortable and learn your characters and take your direction from your photographer because they know what they're fucking doing. So that's the other thing too. As an actor,
and a lot of times,
on, and then you're that doesn't go anywhere. That was terrible.
Yeah, and photography is not a science either. It's an art form in and of itself. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
but it's a collaboration too.
Yeah, and so the photographer is figuring out the person. What are the good angles? Because photographers might have a whole bank of poses or looks or lighting setups that have worked really great in the past. So of course we're going to go to those things first. But you're also experimenting and seeing what this particular subject, that lighting is horrible for them, or this pose they look super fucking weird. So every person, it's a new experience, even for the photographer, no matter how dialed in.
That's good. That's being a director though too. That's very good knowledge as a director. You can't go to an edge show knowing exactly how it's going to go because you have to read your room and learn your actors and evolve.
Yeah, so the headshots at the Academy were basically a 5-minute photo session where you lined up in the hallway, and then it was in a stinky basement room with a backdrop, a glamour shot at best. And then you didn't even get to pick. Someone else, some administrator chose it for you. So mine is.
So you created this particular whole thing with reels, so people are leaving with something.
Yeah, so the second year program, we look at their type. What are the types of characters? Because in theater, also most of the school is theater training. Very little is dedicated to film and TV. And in the theater program, these students are playing the dad in All My Sons. 67-year-old character and stuff like that. So I was in film, there's no fucking way. You're not even going to get an audition for that kind of shit. And if you do, don't go. Call your agent. Yeah, because they will laugh you out of the fucking room if you show up to audition for something that's out of your age range. So we talk about age range, we talk about type, we talk about what kind of characters can you go out and audition for and nail right now. Not your dream role 10 years from now, not what you're going to win your Oscar for 20 years from now. What can you go...
Not your chameleon. Yeah. You have to be typecast first.
Can you sell really McDonald's or toothpaste? Yeah. Can you play the geek or the jock? That kind of thing. So without making it overly, stereotypical, it's really
it has to be though.
Yeah, well, and also confidence. I always say be confident but not cocky. This industry loves confidence, but not cocky. Yeah. Because we also have to work with you for 12-hour days, endless days a week, and stuff like that. So cocky doesn't fly because you're going to be a diva. We don't want to work with you, but we need to know that you're confident, and and that you're not going to be one of these people that's like constantly like, am I doing okay? Give me more notes. Like, what do I need to do? Who's my character? What's my motivation? No, like good actors
do the work on your own. Get a coach. Bring a coach to set.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So do that. And
good. That's really good.
Everyone starts as a PA. So if you want to work behind the scenes in film and TV, like find a PA job. It's production assistant. That's what PA stands for.
What do production assistant? I mean, I know, but tell everybody what it is.
Every fucking thing.
So there's office PAs and there's set PAs, and office PAs are basically
more like line production
below the secretary. You might be answering phone calls, making coffee,
you get the donuts, you make
doing
sure everybody,
runs. Like a lot of, if you have a decent car, like you're going to be driving around and picking shit up, dropping stuff off, blah 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 blah. Set PA is a lot more physical you're
like whatever we need you for.
It's still getting coffees, doing runs, doing lockups, but
it's definitely more physical. It isn't
move this trash.
Less secretarial and more. Exactly. You might be cleaning
and a lot
up.
of initiative. If you're a PA, you have to know how to take initiative. Don't like run people over and make your own decisions, but you have to know how to take initiative and understand that moment problem solving, what people need before they need it, kind of thing.
And I the industry's gotten a lot cleaner and has evolved somewhat, but it is still a rough fucking industry. And PAs don't get to say no. We were talking about
yes and
exactly. And so my ridiculous PA story, which is 100% true, is that the feature film I was working on with the crazy actor and the director and working from 4 a.m. till 3 a.m. every day for an entire summer. One day we're on set in downtown LA, and the main actor had been up drinking, and he was also the writer, which was a horrible mistake, and so many red flags. But he was like, and he had some intense scenes that day. Like I think it was even maybe his love scene day or something like that. And he had these horrible puffy the bags and stuff like that.
That's why you need an intimacy director on set. You need someone to be there and be like, let me make everybody feel comfortable.
So at the time, I think now there's actually legitimate products for this. There's so many products
for puppies?
Yeah. But at the time, it was a big insider trick to use Preparation H.
Yeah, the butt cream.
Exactly.
Hemorrhoids.
So,
but it does shrink your eyes. We used to do that all the time. It burns a little bit if you get too close. But
you have to be careful.
Yeah, you have to be careful.
Well, this actor had never done that before, but somebody told him, like, that's what you need. Maybe the makeup person, whatever. So he...
You're like, here, use mine.
That's no joke.
Yeah. So there was... you cannot make this shit up. It's 100% true. They come to me and they're like, Tyler, we need you to do an emergency run, and you need to go find the closest supermarket, and we don't know, he doesn't know what kind of Preparation H, so just like, if there's different types, buy one of every different type of Preparation H, and we have a scene coming up where the actor needs to open and take a bite of a banana, so we need as many fucking bananas, so they're just like...
you don't know how it's gonna go.
Yeah, so they're like, fill the fucking cart, buy every banana in the store, and one tube of each... of type of Preparation H. And I thought this was like them pranking me. I thought this was like and I was like, haha, good luck. Yeah, that's hilarious, guys. Yeah. Like, good one. And they were like, no, we're fucking serious. Go right now. And like, we need this ASAP. Yeah. And we're in downtown LA. There's no fucking supermarkets, especially back then. And I'm like, so I literally had to go and find some...
To John's.
Yeah, to John's.
Or Broadway bar. And you're like, who here?
And I bought like 100 bananas, the whole fucking shopping cart full of bananas, and 6 tubes of Preparation H, because there was like gel and fast acting. Yeah.
Well, it's like Kleenex. Yeah. There's like all of them. Yeah.
But I mean, like, I roll up and the lady at the checking counter, she's like, she's like, bleep, 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 bleep. And like, 500 and then bananas. Looks in the bananas and she's like, oh, I don't know.
Oh, she said that?
Yeah. And I was like, we're filming a movie. No, not that kind of movie. Not that kind of movie. Like,
That's the Valley. That's the Valley.
I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. That's like when I worked, was producing a theatrical, when we did Motel 66.
Oh, yeah.
So we were doing a series of one-act plays, and we had our little, the packs, and we had to go get non-lubricant
condoms so you can have your pack.
To put over the pack so it wouldn't
get sweaty.
And I went, how many freaking pharmacies I went to asking.
Nobody sells non-lubricated. First of all, because they fucking hurt.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but the looks.
Yeah.
I was like, it's for a show. We're doing a show. I need it.
But you bought Preparation H and bananas because a lot of people masturbate with bananas. There's something going.
There's a lot of people.
I know 3.
Wow, that's more than I would.
I mean, listen. Well, that's for the next episode.
That's more people than I know. But really quickly, if we have a second, the so
we don't.
PAs. I know. Sorry.
I just like snorted on myself.
Everybody starts at PA, and then you can move up to different departments from there because, like, you know, you can tell your bosses or people like, hey, I really love like camera stuff. So if the camera department ever needs like something specific, please think of me
and
first.
And it's also okay to ask on set too because
that's what I'm saying.
Part of the team.
Yeah. So then if camera goes, hey, I need to run to the camera to take this lens back or fix a broken piece of equipment, they'll go, oh, Tyler asked about camera, send Tyler. And then then when you get back, like check in with your boss, but go, hey, can I take this directly to camera team? So then now you get to take it to them and be like, hey, I'm Tyler. Yeah, here's your lens. And then they're like, oh, cool, thanks, Tyler. And you're like, hey, I really love camera. So if you guys ever need anything, like, you know, find me. I'm the blonde guy, like, find blonde kid. And so now you're building a rapport. Then on their next show, they might go, oh, hey, that Tyler guy was a rock star. Like, we need a, you know, low level utility or something like that. Give that guy a call.
See, this is amazing. This is amazing.
So that's how you then start to work your way up that ladder.
Yeah.
The only other one piece of advice I would give you is be a sound person. That's my sneaky insider 40-year-old wishing I could go back and tell my graduating college. Yes. So in the film and TV industry, basically every rich kid that goes to film school already has a Porsche or BMW, but you know, when they're in school at USC. So when they graduate from USC or AFI or any of these schools, their present from their rich fucking families is a red camera or an Arri Alexa or a fancy camera. So now they have a BMW and a fancy camera.
But nobody knows how to fucking audio.
And they have no life expenses. And everybody that goes to film school either wants to be a director or a cinematographer, director of photography, right? So there's massive competition. And there's a lot of young dudes out there that don't need a lot of money because their house is already paid for and they're like, and they have a camera. So they're like, oh yeah, I'll shoot your short film and yeah, we can use my red camera and you barely have to pay me because I don't know. So the competition for camera people, especially in the entry level stuff, is fucking fierce. And directors, like it's really hard to break into directing and a lot of these other fields. But audio people, there's never enough. Audio people.
Good audio people too.
Also, like projects are very specific, camera specific. So you'll like see a job posting even, and it's like we're looking for a cinematographer for a Red project or for an art or Sony. You know that we're going to use Sony Venice. Or do you have a Sony Venice camera? Blah blah blah. So like it's so weird that people get so fixated on like they figure out what camera they're going to use before what fucking show they're gonna shoot, and so that and then everything becomes about like what camera ecosystem they're gonna use. Audio equipment is not that way. You can buy audio equipment and nobody ever is like, hey, this is a Shure program, like we are only gonna use Shure products, like
we are.
Which we do.
Hi, Shure. We do. Hi, Shure.
But yeah, so you can actually start owning some of your own equipment. None of it's cheap, but you can start slowly building your kit, your audio kit.
Yeah.
And then you can rent. You get hired for your rate as the audio person, but you can also rent your equipment back to the company as well. So all of the chillest dudes that I know that own their house outright and drive the nicest car and never seem like they're stressed or have like, you know, too much on their plate are the audio guys. So if you want to just like do well in the industry,
awesome.
Pursue audio.
You got to get boom arms.
Yeah.
If you want to be good in the industry, you got to get boom arms. That's right, baby. That's
nowadays,
right.
Nowadays, there's all these tricks for that too. There's like vests you can wear and like you know.
Really?
Yeah, like
oh shit,
rigs.
Audio rigs.
My arm.
And wireless.
And it like falls into the
always
frame.
not me.
Yeah.
I was a good boomer.
Tyler.
So be confident, not cocky. Everyone starts at PA. Doesn't matter even if you're a rich kid. Like, and also be nice to everyone because like you have no idea. Like I've been on projects that like somebody is a PA and they're super cool and they're like, hey, can I get you a coffee or here's a water bottle or whatever like that. And then 2 weeks later, like they're the director on something and they're like, oh yeah, I'm so and so's nephew and I was just doing the PA gig to get some experience because I already knew I was going to be directing this other project. You know, so you never know who anybody is and who they're going to become. And then
and be nice to everybody everywhere. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry, I'm like trying to pack all my.
No, that's good though. That's good. We actually.
So the one other thing, as my teacher side is kicking in.
Yay!
we all have the people we love, like Christopher Nolan, Steven Spielberg, which that feels even very dated now, although he's still working.
Yeah.
James Cameron and all these types of people. And so a lot of my students and stuff make the mistake. I ask them, like, hey, who do you want to work with? If you could, like, what directors do you want to act on their sets and stuff like that? And the truth is, the chances of acting on any of these people that we admire sets is so tiny. They all have their little clique. They recycle the same actors into every single project.
Unless your name is Aria or Katz.
Well,
who was a friend of ours and was on our show, and he was on.
Yeah, but it's true. Though, you work with who they know.
Side by side with
and you can
Leonardo.
get little parts. It's not
they pull
like
from the Rolodex, though. We all do.
Yeah,
we do. Look at.
No, I know.
So the real trick.
Huge.
The real trick is not to work with the famous people now. It's to work for the famous people for tomorrow.
Exactly.
And we don't know who that's going to be.
That's
yet.
what I tell my kids.
So do the film student shit.
That's exactly
right.
what I say. So.
Audition for the film student shit and make sure you get your reel from them, but also build that community because they will keep making stuff and they keep bringing in the same people over and over.
And a lot of times the footage is shit.
Oh,
so
100%.
If it's crap, don't feel like it has to be on your reel. Only put stuff that you on your reel.
But it's more about the connection.
The connection. Yeah, exactly.
So even if you have the ability to go and if we just need someone to run sound or do whatever or even be on book, like continuity or whatever it is, like just go and do it, even if it's free.
It's a big.
If you're just starting out, because it's more about who you meet, or if it ends up being good, you can use it for your reel. And
it's a very much you scratch my back, I scratch your back industry.
100%.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that you'll find on. By the way, if you're an actor, go on Actors Access and LA Casting if you want to find stuff to be in when you're finishing college. You have your project when you're a filmmaker. It's called your
thesis project.
Your thesis project. There'll be a ton of thesis stuff up there, and it's like most of them don't pay. Some of them promise a reel and you never get it. Some of them are like $100 a day. But if you're on those thesis projects with those filmmakers, you're meeting the sound guys, you're meeting the directors, you're meeting the
that's what
videographer.
Networking.
Yeah,
that's what
all of what
whatever.
your networking is out here. Yeah.
Everybody thinks networking is being at
going
a bar
to the bar
and
Fuck
meeting
noise.
Quentin Tarantino. And
no.
that's not networking.
And blowing him in the back.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. I'm telling you guys, it doesn't
she's
work.
telling you right now.
Networking is rubbing elbows with people at your same level, because as they advance, they will take you with them.
That's right.
So don't spend your time grasping at straws that are above your level. I mean, of course, if you get the chance to work with people, don't blow it. Like, that's an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
But also don't think that that's
not the only way to
lead
get
you
in. That's actually rarely the way to get in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's mostly the building relationships that grow and evolve over time. And as they get bigger, you get bigger. So support people, be a part of a team. It's a weird industry because it's very isolating, and because it's job to job. Like I always say, on every project I've ever worked on, there's amazing people that like immediately like feel like family, and you're like, I want to work with you on every project for the rest of my life. And there's complete fucking assholes that you're like, I would quit this project just to not have to work with them. Yeah. But there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. So you're not going to have to work with that person for the next 20 years. Get through the job.
It's a fucking crapshoot when you get on a project.
I mean, it is.
You kind of don't know who you're getting,
And the next project, you might get to have a friend or two friends on the next project, but it might not be from the same project that you just wrapped. It might be from years ago. So you do see friendly faces, and you do end up working with some of the same people sometimes, but it's not normally like constantly working with the same people always. So that makes you feel very much like alone, like a solo sport player, like a tennis player.
And
or
you
something
are,
like that.
really. For a long time you are.
You are, but you also have to be a team player. Like, you've got to quickly make your teams on that project. Yeah, because,
I see what you're saying,
you are a solo sport player, but filmmaking is a team sport.
Is a team project,
So you have to be confident and stand alone as your own athlete, but quickly join into a team and be a part of a team.
And adjust to a vibe, right? Like or find that vibe.
You're a solo athlete in a team sport.
That's true. That's Michael
really
Jordan. We're all Michael Jordan. We're all a solo athlete. Where we go home, we can't be in the public. We have to. I just watched a documentary on it, so it's on my mind.
Kobe.
So, Tyler, tell us where we can find you on social. You're not much on the social, but just in case.
I'm on Facebook.
Oh, look at you,
you're
90-year-old
on the
mama.
Facebook?
On the Facebook.
Thank you, Grandma.
Oh wait, did I say Facebook? I meant MySpace.
Oh, there we go.
No, I am
does
on Facebook.
Vines on the regular.
Under my own name. I had a YouTube channel at one point. It's probably still somewhere in the atmosphere, wherever out
never
there.
goes away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there may be some
and at Tyler
YouTube.
Townsend, wherever you can look up an at Tyler Townsend,
which is not many places.
Now, if people want to book you and hire you, where do we find you?
You can email me at tyleratownsend@gmail.com or find me on Facebook and send me a personal message.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Awesome. And what's your address?
Yeah.
Social Security, passport.
555.
555.
Yo mama. Yo mama's house.
1-800-555.
Oh, that was great.
Hey, did you have something to tell us?
Oh yeah.
Moms are too.
Got something to tell you
Right now.
today.
Oh.
Hey, so I have something to tell you. Which is that I'm going to buy a camper van and I'm going to live in a van down by the river.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I am.
No,
and I'm
God.
going to be a motivational speaker. No, not really. Well, I am.
Well, you are a motivational
the van,
speaker.
The van, I'm buying a van and I'm going to live in a van probably mostly by rivers.
Where?
All over the West and the United States.
Hold on a minute.
Holy
What?
shit, this is
I need to know these
amazing.
things. What is happening?
So this is sort of my next step in life, which is
You're going through a transition.
Yeah. But this is me, so bringing everything full circle and having worked in all these different industries and becoming a real director by teaching and directing so much at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, both film and theater projects, and I'm a writer and a storyteller and creative. So I have this huge slate of my own ideas, but one in particular is a coming-of-age road trip movie about two people who were former strangers but meet, and the main character is 18-year-old who's going through a major life trauma and decides to steal his uncle's RV and go from a small town middle of nowhere to the coast, to the ocean, because he realizes he's never seen anything. He's never seen the snow or mountains even. He lives in the flatlands. He's never seen the ocean. He's never been more than like 100 miles away from his hometown. So he steals an RV and he goes on this epic adventure. He very quickly picks up a travel mate, and so they go to the Grand Canyon and the Rockies and like all these places on their epic adventure to get to the ocean. So that's me. I'm getting a van and I'm going to do the road trip as I'm finishing the screenplay. I already have 40 pages of it, the first act basically, and then now they're on this crazy road trip adventure.
So you're discovering these guys along the way as you're taking the road trip yourself?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so it's basically like I have the whole thing outlined and I know all the scenes that I want to take place, but it was like now I got to them being actually on the road and I was like, oh, okay, but where does that scene take place? Where does the tire pop? How do they get, where do they go first? Like where, and so then it becomes an actual, like, I want it to be like
honest.
Yeah. And I don't want it to be like they're at the Grand Canyon, then they're in Seattle, then they're in New Mexico. Like I want it to be, the whole point of this movie is that it's very authentic and real to these people. So I want it to be accurate, historically accurate. And I want it to also be inspired because I've camped and I've done a lot of those types of things, but I've never like stayed on the side of the road in the middle of some, nowhere.
Like just pulled over.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why me and my dog Blue are going to get in a van and we're going to go finish this screenplay. And then I'm hoping that it's like My Little Miss Sunshine or Juno. I've already started to build my team of people and
you're going to wear a little coat?
What?
Oh yeah. It's like a little coat.
Oh my God, you're still in the van down by the river.
Oh, totally. 100%.
And I'm going to be a motivational speaker.
Yeah, I love that.
I live in a van down by the river.
Are you, you're going on your own. How long are you planning on being away? Or you're just going to kind of follow the string?
Am I ever going to see you again?
It might be forever. Oh, well, no, I'll definitely come back. And I mean, the intention is to like...
Find the story.
Are you selling your house?
We don't need to talk about
that's the next episode.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Next episode.
This is an evolving plan, but the plan is finish the feature and then make the feature. And I may or may not try to do like a travel journal sort of podcasty type of thing.
Yeah, do that.
Of the adventure itself.
Get a shore mic.
Yeah. And at the end, because I know all the departments, I'm also going to be, I already have several.
Okay, good. Of course you do. Of course you do.
I'll be scouting locations and making contacts with people. So, trying to talk to people. So
when you go to shoot, you're already a nice little log.
One step ahead.
Oh, that's so good. And you got a lot of this experience from being a location manager.
Yes.
So you understand writing script comes from this place.
And production.
Build your fucking toolboxes, guys.
Build your toolbox.
What it's about. It's never that you haven't made it. It is just your evolution. So keep evolving.
Tyler, thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're so awesome.